Welcome to the Permission Mission Show, my very first show. My name is Mary McElhat, and I am your host today. And I tell you, this is something that I've been dreaming about since 1981. I had a very big question at that time that no one wanted to answer. However, today it's being answered almost daily, regularly, with hundreds and hundreds of people that I have the honor and privilege to talk to more about with the Permission Mission. I wanted to share with you that if you do have any questions today, please feel free to ask any questions. This is an open place to be able to feel comfortable talking about a topic that many of us don't want to talk about. Even I sometimes want to run away. However, I'm staying in this chair, and I will get through this with you on the importance of Permission Mission and what it is about. The show today will be live. Broadcast streaming show today will be on the WWDBTV Facebook, YouTube channel, and also through Roku, which is a streaming download that you will be able to go to the WWDBTV channel and make sure that you click on the Permission Mission show here today. For those of you who are not able to come in live today, I wanted to put a huge thank you out there to honor the loved ones who have passed before, because Permission Mission is bridging the gap between life and loss, promising value to both. I'll get more into specifics on that, but the end result goal here is to normalize the conversation of mortality so that we live better, and so that we also can let those loved ones who have passed away have some peace, so that we can figure out how to get through this tough life already just a little bit easier when we've lost the love of our life, or someone who was so special to us that nobody ever talked to us about how to get through it. So that's what Permission Mission is about. I want to honor those. I have a friend that I'd like to just do a shout out to, Alan and Donnie Byer. I know in Illinois they are celebrating the life of their mother today, and she was such a sweet, kind lady. I will tell you, I'm a better mother, I'm a better person, a better adult because of the influence that she had in my life. She was always telling us what to do, make sure to do it right and get on the ball and get it done. She didn't mess around. So Karen, you will be missed, and I thank you for your contribution to me as a child, and you did a wonderful job with your sons. So also just I thank you for staying tuned with us long enough to understand how it can impact you and your family by having permission to talk about a tough subject. That mortality is not number one in every home or every workplace. Let's be honest and real. It's just not. It doesn't make any sense, because most of the time, even when I do hear that somebody had passed away, my first reaction is always the same, and that is, what do I say? I don't want to screw this up. If I say something, will it make a difference anyway? And what I'm here to tell you today is what I've learned over the last 10 years of Permission Mission, but since 1981, asking about, why did this happen to my brother, and I'll get more into that story here in just a moment, is the permission part to talk openly and boldly and proudly about it, so that there is some understanding right now. So let me tell you how it all started in 1981. I was 14 years old. You'll probably do the math and know how old I am. That's fine. We got the call that my brother had been tragically killed in a motorcycle accident. And I remember watching my parents do the very best that they could to navigate in a very difficult day. And then I wanted to talk about it. I was in the funeral home, I was asking questions, and they basically were like, listen, talk to your parents later, we've got to get moving forward. And I was so curious that I never stopped asking. since 1981, which brings me to this day for Permission Mission. So my brother passed in 81, another brother passed in 2001. I still wanted to talk. As a family that once felt close, all of a sudden didn't feel as close anymore, and that didn't settle well with me. My mom and dad did a wonderful job raising us to love one another, to be close with one another, to support one another, and all of a sudden it seemed like these two events in our life kind of just wiped all that out, and we really didn't know what to do. So that was until 2013 when I got a call from my father, who was a very quiet man. He really never said much of anything. He was the gentleman that cleaned the guns as his daughter's dates would arrive at the door. He would be accidentally cleaning the guns. You know, he wanted to make sure that those boys knew to bring us home on time and safely. Anyway, my father just didn't say a lot until the day he called me and said, Mary, listen, I've come from the doctor, got a short time to live, and I want to talk about my day of departure. And me, as number 10 of 11 children, politely said, Dad, why don't you call number 5 or number 7? I'm number 10. I'm the baby of the family. I shouldn't be dealing with this. Anyway, it didn't take long for me to be reminded that I was Mary Margaret Motormouth and that he wanted to get his day just right, and that's exactly what we did. You know, it was difficult, but it was so special. Something came alive in me. I saw my father come alive. I saw him have more conversations in those 3 months that he was alive than any other time in his entire life. I watched him make amends quick. I watched him say sorry quick. I watched him get right back into life for the days that he did have left and let go of all the crap that didn't matter from all his past. It was the most beautiful thing to witness, and that is part of why I'm here today bringing this conversation alive, because it did something inside of me. My father, he had messages for his kids, his grandkids, his great-grandkids, even his great-great-grandchildren not alive. Now, how does that happen? It happened because we talked about it. We talked about it openly and boldly and proudly, and there was no shame in the game. We knew what we were faced with. And I know that for some families out there, we don't get that opportunity, as I had shared with my 2 other brothers. We didn't have time. It just suddenly happened. But with my father, we did, and it certainly brought our family back together to where we were close again. We did feel the love and support of one another. And, you know, having a big family, there's a lot of different personalities. So you can imagine those clash sometimes, but I think with the loss of my father and my siblings, we don't stay mad at each other very long at all. And if this can happen with my family, I certainly want to bring it into your homes to happen for yours. I had talked a little bit about, you know, the fact that losing my brothers and us never talking about it. You know, that's that family secret. Does your family have that secret? You know, those secrets that don't come out until they're exposed and then you have to talk about it. Well, I think that mortality is kind of one of those dirty little secrets that all of us want to keep hidden, but yet some of us have already been faced with death and will face the day of our own mortality. So I was thinking this morning, I woke up and I thought, if this is something, because you have to understand, like I do get those seconds that go, Mary, don't talk about it. It's too hard. It's, you know, run away. Just easier not to address it. And then I think of my grandchildren, my children, and I think, no way, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to face it. I'm going to be here today. I'm going to make this show. I'm going to make it happen. And I'm not going to be embarrassed about one bit of it because of how important and the difference it made for my father and our family to the difference that it can make for you. But my children and my grandchildren, they will know that this is an okay conversation to have. So I was talking a little bit, you know, like the secret. So obviously the secret for us was revealed when my brother passed, and then it became very apparent that this was something that we just needed to further talk about so that we could have a little better understanding. I know what I was saying now. See, I'm vintage now. So I was talking about this morning when I woke up, how I wasn't going to maybe talk about this, but I'm here to talk about it. It was the fact that if I am going to die, I want to know more about it. I want to plan for it. I want my children to know about it. I want my grandchildren to know about it. I hope that I have great, 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 great grandchildren to be able to be, happy that they understood this instead of it being the dirty secret or the hidden secret or the silent secret, and then having it hit them so hard out of the blue that they didn't know what to do. Well, today we have an opportunity that we know what to do, and that's what is available to all of us here at Permission Mission. Some of the things we're going to talk about in the future. I'm excited to share guest on my show. I will have some guests. I have one here today. I'm super excited to bring him on. He is a friend. He is a fan of mine. He is somebody that let me come into his life to make sure that things were spoken about ahead of time. He's a man that you will meet and you will love him as well. Some of the show ideas that I have, I wanted to put these out there to you so you know what's next. Also, I invite you to come up with your own. What do you want to hear about? What is something in your family since a death occurred that you're still questioning? Go to my website, permissionmission.com, and let me know so that I can put this in the show and really bring it out to all of you, because I know there are a lot of us who are still sitting in silence and don't have to, because Permission Mission will bring it to the surface and we're going to talk about it. Because if you can talk about hard stuff, you can talk about anything. And this is the hardest conversation. So a couple ideas that I have is it's not about how we die, it's about when. I'm going to really dive into the myths around death, because there are a lot of them. One specific is the one that my mom has made it very clear to all of us, is that please never say that your children should outlive your parents. That's not the case with my mom. Losing children herself, she says, please don't say that. I didn't do anything wrong. It was out of my control. And I love them just the same as my living children. So we're going to dive into the myths and clear those up. If you knew it was coming, what do you do? I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to share some things that my father did and how it really helped all of us cope with it. And also, he was at peace. My dad was a massive controller, you guys. He was so controlling. He was military. So, the fact that he made sure that he knew that his days were numbered was peaceful to him. I, on the other hand, I remember breaking down one day and I said, Dad, I can't do this anymore. This is just too hard. He said, Mary, look, I'm okay that my days are numbered. But on the other hand, you're going to sit and stress about it. So do something about it, which is why I'm here, doing something about it. What to say or not to say. We all know that there's an etiquette out there. I agree with some of it, and there's some things I don't agree with. And I'm going to share some ideas and ways that you can take what you like and leave the rest. But I am going to share openly about some things that I think have really worked over the last 10 years to be able to say to somebody. The biggest mistake that we can make when it comes to having somebody we love lose somebody they love, and how we deal with it with them, is just call them. Show up at their door, just say you love them. You don't even have to, you could even say, I don't know what to say, and that's enough. That's the biggest part of just the start of it. If today is your only day to share, what would you share? I'm speaking today like it's my last day. I am busting through this fear thinking that it's a conversation I shouldn't be having because the world says you shouldn't. Well, not today and not anymore. I'll go down in history with the person that people were dying to hear speak because that was something from one of my daughters. She said, "Mom, it's like people are going to be dying to hear you speak because this is important stuff. I get what you're doing." Being nice is simply not enough. That I just want to let it sit with you for a minute, and we're going to dive into that. And that was a profound, profound moment for me, learning about, again, this topic that we can be educated on because it's 100% proof and it's 100% guaranteed. So I want to bring it to a commercial. Thank you for staying tuned. I'll see you back in a few seconds after the commercial. Stay with me. Thank you again. Mary McElhatton with Permission Mission. We'll be right back.
Most business owners struggle with the following issue. How do I brand my business to get noticed? Double 8 Design Studio helps businesses by designing brands that boost confidence, look and feel timeless, stand out from the competition, and attract all the right clients. Whether you are in need of a new brand, upgraded design elements, or completely redesign your current brand, Double 8 Design Studio has fully customized packages for your business. Call Chelsea McKendrick at 702-525-3334 and visit www.double8designstudio.com. Let Double 8 Design Studio give you a brand new outlook for your business.
Hi, my name is Edgar Alejandro. I'm the co-founder of Rising Again Productions. So we've been here in Vegas producing films for the past couple of years, and we've seen our fair share of studios. We've worked in our fair share of studios, and to be honest, WWDBTV has been our favorite by far. John is so welcoming. The space is wonderful. It's perfect for what we need. We've had rehearsals here. We've had callbacks here. We've had table reads here. So if you're a Vegas creative, or really just a creative coming into Vegas, definitely check out this space. Chat with John. I think you'll find that this studio has everything that you'll need as well.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Permission Mission. My name is Mary McElhatton, your host today. I have a very special guest who has joined us. This is Aaron Phillips. He is a friend. He is actually a client, and he is one of my biggest fans. He's somebody who saw the Life in Permission Mission from the very start and has encouraged me for several years now to get this going.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate him with the utmost respect that he did that. He
so
cared
you're the
enough.
one, huh?
I'm going to ask you, Aaron,
Yes.
you know, you met me, I was speaking about death. Interesting enough, I was speaking about death and dying and how to be prepared because I work for one of the largest funeral homes here, and I am on a mission to bring this conversation alive because of the impact that it can have on families, whether it's prepared or not prepared. So what brought you to hear me and actually reach out to me when I was talking about what I was talking about?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your inaugural show. It
You're
means
welcome.
a lot to be
You're
part of the
welcome.
launch, and hopefully the viewership will always be there. They'll grow. So let me set the stage, because 7 years ago, or shortly around that time when you and I first met, I was 354 pounds, stage 2 diabetic, type 2 diabetic, stage 2 non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, yada, yada, yada. I was a walking time bomb for a young guy. Well, fortunately, after getting my health in order, got in shape, got healthy, but the fear of having that diabetes is always in my body, even though clinically I'm no longer clinically diabetic. And the mortality of having all these illnesses really brought to light. Well, my mom passed away 23 years ago. My dad started dating a lady, and they were together for 16 years. She had just passed away. And you don't realize when things happen for a reason. So I'm at a networking meeting here in town. It was a morning meeting. And Our guest that day was a lady called, her name was Mary McElhatton, and she works for one of the, like she mentioned, one of the other funeral homes in town. But more importantly, she was able to talk about this thing, Permission Mission. And she was introduced and gave her little 30-second elevator speech. And, you know, just like you do in most networking meetings, you wait until the bread and butter's there. And when you started talking about your experiences dating back to that first death in the early 80s and being in a household where during that time you and I were growing up in a household where there are just certain topics that are very taboo and really not very open.
Yeah.
I took that information to heart because I was in that position medically, health-wise. I'm like, you know, anything can happen to me at any moment. I have twin daughters, my wife, blah, blah, blah. My wife and I, the big challenge I had was after listening to all that information and being jazzed up and fired up, hearing you saying I might have a solution here to put my mind at ease, was taking all that information and translating it to my wife and having, right? I mean,
Totally different task.
totally different task. I mean, because I was, you know, when you hear something firsthand, your emotions and reactions are that raw feeling. You know, you and I hadn't even talked, but I heard your message and I knew we were going to connect because I just felt it. I mean, the way you spoke, the sharing of your own personal situation, what you went through, and then bringing it home, it was like we were kindred spirits because I was feeling the exact same thing. Yeah. And for me to take that information, literally to go home, was probably the best sell job I've ever done in my life, was to be able to translate the emotion I felt hearing about it for the first time, sharing how I felt about it to my wife and why she realized that it was something that we together at that point needed to hear about together. And once she understood why, from the medical standpoint, my emotions, I'm the man of the house, and you know I need to make sure. Let me tell you, folks, regardless of your position, you really do need to take care of it. And so, my wife agreed. I reached out to you. You came over to our home, happily came over, and you made us feel right at home right away. That it was like, quite frankly, I hate to say it this way, but it was a no-brainer when hearing how we could protect ourselves and how it was okay to talk about this and plan. We planned for everything. Heck, we planned what clothes we're going to wear tomorrow, right?
Some
Food.
of us do.
Well,
some of us don't.
Yeah, sometimes like this in the closet,
It's like,
but
I
you
don't,
know,
or a woman, I don't have anything to wear.
oh God, I don't want to hear those words. But anyway, no, but we plan for everything, right? I mean, you plan for this show. We plan for everything. Why don't we plan for the time we need it the most when we don't realize we need it? It's too late. The family's like, oh God, why didn't we do this? And it was something that when you make an emotional connection with something or someone and you realize you have a problem, or I didn't realize I really had a problem. I knew it was there until I heard you speak and you provided that solution or potential solution, then that's the answer. That's why it was like, it was a no-brainer. And Mary came over, and usually my wife and I don't make decisions right away. We just like, well, we'll take the information, we got to chomp on it and everything. But something was different that night where when we talked about the available opportunities or options there were for us to talk about it and make sure that the family is protected. I think that was one of the rare times my wife and I kind of looked at each other and went, okay, we're there. Let's do this. And that's as much as testament to you for you being as real a person as you are, to share your experience and just give us the information and make our decision, allow us to make the decision with that information. I think was why we become not only friends, and I am a big banner waver for you anytime I hear somebody talk about what they're going through, and why we believed in the program that you presented us was a no-brainer for us. So.
Well, congratulations. You did a wonderful job getting her on board, because I do hear that a lot where it's mostly difficult to get both on the same page,
right.
Because it's a very intimate conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's very direct, and it is something that I believe, that the no-brainer part, like you had mentioned, it's the logic part of it.
Right.
When you have the logic on a day that's logical, and the fact that you two make decisions your entire life. You've been married how many years?
Next week will be 35 years.
35 years.
Thanks for the reminder, John.
Woo! That's
Yes.
a huge celebration.
January 8th, yep.
And the fact that you guys have done this together, and that really is a goal of mine, is that when two people are on the same page and They've loved each other for so many years. I do not want to see them alone on a hard day, right? Because now they're going to feel like how I did is, how I witnessed my parents is having to plan everything on the worst day of their life and making decisions that they probably felt like they were making wrong. And I'm sure that would be for a spouse who spent many years together feeling wrong, like they're doing something wrong. I'm like, no, the only wrong way to do this is not talking about it.
One of the best things you did besides us becoming your client, and I think we even did this that night with you, you always had that argument with your spouse. I want to go first because I can't live without you. I don't want to die alone. No, I'm going to go first. In a way, then you could say, well, the best solution is we both go together. However, whoever's going to go first, the remaining spouse, doesn't have that worry now. If I go first, I won't be gone worrying about, my spirit will not be saying, man, I hope Eileen can handle this. I hope the girls can handle this. I will be able to be laid at rest, truly at rest, knowing that I am not going to be the burden of my death to my family. And then we had to open up the conversation about this to our daughters, which was a whole nother level of conversation. It's not like you're talking, like you mentioned, this is a different kind of conversation. It's not like, hey, honey, how was your day today? Oh, by the way, let's talk about death, shall we please? That's not how it happens. And coming together that night with you, for my wife and I to be there to talk about it. And then when we had everything done, to have that conversation with our kids and have them understand why. Because I had explained it to them the same way I started with my wife, my health and everything else, I'm concerned, etc. My kids bought in and understood it, that there's no burden moving forward. That was a whole nother level of conversation with the kids.
It brings would you agree that it brings a closeness, a new closeness? Like you could have the closest family in the world, yet it does also add a little bonus of closeness, of reality that, can you share a little bit more about that?
They're just like we said earlier, in our generation, there are just some conversations that just are not held in the house. Death was, one of those that when somebody died, you just had to kind of deal with it on your own. But now that we've been open and honest with our daughters, it has brought a little closeness and really a de-stress, because you said it earlier, you have something like this, it took one thing off our plates that we had to worry about. Yeah. And now that we've done that, our daughters can be relieved in the fact of knowing that when the second one of us go, God, I'm trying to pick my words very carefully here, that they will not have any additional burden, that they can only then continue to think about the legacy, which I know is a word you use a lot, that we built around that, because then we will not be a concern for them. And all they won't say, oh my God, they drained us for X amount of tens of thousands of dollars to it. Now they can just understand that we did all of this in their best interest, and hopefully someday my grandkids and everything else. Yeah. And they can just focus on the legacy, but they're building their own legacy. They don't need our legacy. God bless them. But
everybody in this position gets to have their own and create their own legacy, and it can last when it is prepared and planned and spoken about. I commend you. I believe it is a brave act, and it will be the difference in that day down the road for a long time. And congratulations for getting healthier. Because I too have definitely taken the permission part of it to think differently about my own mortality of, am I doing things that are helping me, or am I doing things that are hurting me? And I never had that awareness before at all. It was just kind of like,
you don't think about
day by day, go with the flow, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're young, you don't think about 50, 60, 70 years down the line. You worry about tomorrow, like where you're going to meet the crew at the bar on Friday. That's all you care about. Yeah. And as we get older, our focus tends to shift. But this is something that there is no age limit on this, right? I mean, you don't have to be 30 and over. You can be, as long as you have a pulse at some point, right? There should be something that everybody should consider to be thinking about.
That is the segment that we're going to do on the myths, is clearing those myths up, because it is not an age preference. Nope. It's we're all in it together, which leads me to the soon to end this particular first show. Again, thank you guys for hanging in here with me. I want to share with you how actually the moment that permission came to a point of making sure that I never let it stop being spoken about. So I talked about my brothers and my father's passing, and my mom actually lost her first child, Sheila, to polio in the early 50s, 2 weeks prior to the polio shot.
Wow.
And my mom, we had heard of Sheila's name, but we never really heard anything more than that. We just knew that mom's first child had passed away, and that was it. And then my mom called us girls up and said, listen, I want to talk to you guys about Sheila. And of course, I was like, oh, okay. So we gather and we sit on the floor, and my mom tells the story of her first daughter and just details about that day in the morning when she knew that something was different. The crib wasn't making the sound that it had typically made. You know, when you're 9 months old, you are crawling up on the top and you're moving shaking the,
Right.
and back then those cribs were creaky and you know, you heard them.
Very different.
So she knew in her heart, walking down, her feet, she said, felt very heavy to open the door. And she shared the most beautiful, beautiful life of 9 months of Sheila. And like we, for the first time as siblings, got to know her and how amazing she was in the 9 months that she was on this earth. And we got through all of that. My mom was just as clear and just as poised as could be, because I think she had cried out all her tears for keeping it in. The next day we see my mom. I said, Mom, what on earth made you talk about Sheila? And she goes, well, Mary, you've been doing that permission thing for a while, and I don't want to die with this, and I wanted you to know who your sister was. And I tell you, it was seeing a woman for the first time, like I had witnessed with my father, someone who came alive and never even doubted how beautiful that was. So that's all we have today for today's permission.
For this break?
Oh, for this
think you're gonna
break?
break.
Okay. Oh, I am. Thank
just-
you. Thank you for the people who are here helping and supporting me.
I'm
We're
translating
going to go to
the
another
sign
break.
language back there.
I'm going to get used to it,
You
right,
will,
Aaron? I'll
you
get
will.
used to the sign language back there. So we are going to take another break. We'll be back in a moment. Thank you. Stay tuned. We'll see you back in a minute.
I'm Matt.
I'm Chief.
And I'm Aaron, and together we are
Thoughts Count Anywhere.
Join us every Saturday from 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific Time.
right here on WWDBTV Network and all the shows that are available for you to watch. And why is that?
Because the Chief says so.
Are you looking for someone to provide training to your staff? Do you need a motivational speaker about how to handle change? Do you have an upcoming event that needs an MC to handle those responsibilities? Well, look no further than longtime Las Vegas radio personality Aaron Phillips. I am local to Las Vegas, and I can blend my talents with any audience. For more information, please visit www.aaronzauer.vegas and book me for your next event or training needs.
Welcome back. My name is Mary McElhatton with Permission Mission. I'm here with my super cool guest, Aaron Phillips. And
thank you.
We are on this mission really together to make sure that we continue to bring alive a topic that most people avoid, us included. I'm guilty. I avoided it for many years until it started bringing a lot of value into my life. And as you know, Aaron is somebody I had the honor and privilege of sitting down with his wife, and he has extended the conversation to his children, which will one day make a huge impact in their lives, hopefully not for a very
too
long
soon,
time.
no.
We obviously, we want to keep alive, right?
Of course.
And I know that some people, do pass. Just with my own experience of my siblings, I thought that they passed too soon. Now I realize that they passed at the time that was their time, because we have evidence all over the world that people should have gone and they didn't. And there are people who don't want to go and they are. So
Jim Fix, the famous runner from back in the late 70s or 80s, he was a runner, ran a lot of races, 43 years old. Always talked about jogging and running. Well, while he was out jogging one day, one of the most fit men ever on the planet passed away of a heart attack at 43 in the middle of running. So, like you said, when your number's up, your number's up. And I thought about this when you mentioned medical. DNRs, do not resuscitates. People may not realize that's really the first time that they're really talking about death or mortality, because you have to make a decision in a moment's notice, not a moment's notice, but like in your paperwork, whatever you want to do. Do you want to live, or how do you want to live? Do you want to, stay this way hooked up to machines, or when there's no purpose because it's more strain on the family, take them out of their I don't know, misery, because you're just hanging on and you're not living anything. So and I have a DNR in place in my own medical history, but people don't realize it's really the first time I think we face the question about death and discuss it with your spouse, whatever. Like, all right, let's do the DNR. No, I want you. That's really the first time I think people address it.
And it brings up a lot of really great questions that we want to be asking ahead of time. We want to be prepared to make that kind of medical decision ahead of time. We want to not burden our children. I tell my children, listen, I will not be there physically with you that day, in some ways, right? Physically, but I will be there emotionally, and you will feel me. And I, as your mother, would never leave you just unattended, because, right, when I take the trip of the lifetime, I'm gonna know that I left a roadmap.
I still smell smoke in my house I'm not a smoker. My wife's not a smoker. My mom passed away smoking plus her diabetes. I still smell smoke in my house every couple of days in a week. And I know it's my mother, because I'll acknowledge, hey, Ma, how you doing? Stop at that, thinking everybody's good. Hope you're well. And then as soon as I'm done with that, it's like the smell dissipates. And my wife smells it too. It's not just me. And our doors are closed and windows are closed. It's not coming in from anywhere. So like you said, physically the person's not there, but the spirit, if you believe in that, so let's preface that.
Yeah.
The spirit will let you know that they're still with you, around you, and still watching.
Again, no wrong way to do this, Aaron. Just a way of talking about it is the best way, the right way, and the only way.
Right.
So whatever people believe, it's up to them. But again, when we're talking about our own mortality and preparing the preparations for it ahead of time to relieve that stress, to take it off the to-do list,
Yeah.
I have hundreds and hundreds of stories of people thanking me. I know that it really is for me to thank them, because I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't have people like you that trusted me to say, you know what? Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Let's get this in the open, and let's get it out into the world. And thank you for pushing me and encourage me. We're getting ready to wrap this up. I want to make a really great observation of Anderson Cooper. Just recently put out a wonderful segment on grief and the fact that, he is the last of his family, and he's even questioning what he's to do. What is he going to do? What is he going to do with all of these things? And that inspires me because Permission Mission is in direct alignment with that. And I think we all want to know, like, what do we do with our things that mean so much to us today that were from our loved ones who have passed? And I think there's an opportunity right there just to, as we continue to evolve and continue to bring this topic up, we're going to see some great opportunities that are going to open up for all of us.
Absolutely.
On how to deal with it, because we do know how to deal with it. We're educated people. We know our resources are so many today that we could look up almost anything.
Absolutely.
And
sometimes it's information overload, but you're right. We have all this opportunity to gain information. It's what you do with it that is really the difference between being overloaded and understanding what you have out there to be able to make these decisions with. I mean, it's not an easy thing to talk about. It's not, I mean, I remember after my mom died, after my mom died, my dad was so wrapped up in all of this. He came over to my house one day just upset. And she hadn't passed yet. She was in the hospital, but we knew it was coming. I told my dad, I said, I don't care how you grieve about this, but do me a favor. Why don't you go take your 16-pound bowling ball, because my dad was an avid bowler back in New Jersey before he moved here. Go grab your bowling ball, go to a bowling alley, and just heave the dickens out of that ball down the alley to get the energy out, because everybody's going to grieve differently. And you can't take away how one will grieve about a loss versus somebody else. Yeah. You need to, and I learned my lesson hard, and I still have it today. I did not give myself enough time to grieve in whatever way I was going to after my mom died. And I still carry that with me. But when I see friends losing others that are close to them and they call me, I call them, that's the first thing I tell them is to make sure that they give themselves enough time to grieve and process what's going on around them. Because if they don't do that, like the story with your mom about your sister, I mean, if you don't get it out and process, it's like a sponge can only take in so much water unless you wring it out. And if there's anything that they take away from anything that I say, just remember to give yourself time to grieve and accept and understand that this, it's part of life. And it's okay. And it's okay to talk to somebody else. Sometimes the three worst people you can talk to in this, me, myself, and I, because we don't have all the answers inside. We need somebody else to light a fire or to talk to, whether it's a priest, a rabbi, a friend, or the bartender. You need to process it. So,
Well, I appreciate you letting me be some support in your life and
Of
your
course.
family's life,
Thank
as
you.
you are for me, right? I hope if I go before you, Aaron, you're going to be
I will
talking.
continue
You're
the
going to be
mission.
talking to my children.
That's
You'll
all right.
continue the
I'll
permission
carry the
mission.
torch.
Let me just remind you again, thank you, Aaron, for
pleasure.
being
Thank
here.
you.
We're going to wrap this up. I do want to remind you, please go to the permissionmission.com website. Make sure to post those questions in there, things you want to hear about, things that that all of us are probably waiting to hear about. If you dealt with something that you still are questioning, put it in the website. I'll be happy to share it on the show. I also want to make sure that you're aware of where to go if to share this information. You may have somebody in your life that have lost somebody who's still really struggling. We're going to give you permission to share this information with them. Go to the website, which is WWDBTV Facebook and also YouTube channel. Again, that's WWDBTV. I will get these down soon.
Okay, and I think there's also, they can go to WWDBTV.com direct on the website as well to see the shows as well. So it's a much shorter list on where they can't find this information. It's a pretty long list that one of these things people will be able to use.
And you can always, it'll be posted about a week. It takes for it to be posted on my Permission Mission YouTube channel. So just stay tuned for all those, all the next shows. We're going to be here live every Friday from 11 a.m. to noon. I want to talk about some of the things that you're writing me and acknowledge you, whether it be anonymously or you personally. And again, thank you so much for joining us for the first live Permission Mission show, where we're bridging the gap between life and loss, promising value to both. Thank you.